Hi. I have the camera set way back there because I have a tendency to move around a lot when I talk, so I hope you can see me. I'm 40 years old and I've recently been diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And since it's Father's Day, I was thinking about growing up, and I came from kind of a unique situation, so it wasn't really that noticeable in my house. My quirks, whatever, traits. Been listening to a lot of these YouTube videos, and I have to say it's a big relief to finally find out that there's a reason, like the reason I am the way I am, and also that there's other people like me. And in a weird way, I feel a better connection with my biological sister, who is much more profoundly affected than I am. And I've been doing a lot of reading too, and I'm been really hard on myself a lot my whole life, and some things I've really excelled at, and other things, well, like for example, I'm a teacher, and I teach at-risk youth in an alternative setting, and geez, it gives me some reason to not be so hard on myself, because if I have such a hard time with normal social situations, just imagine dealing with all kinds of dysfunctional people. I don't know. But it's giving me a reason to feel much more hopeful about my own future, because I frankly was starting to wonder what's the point of being around, because I've always really tried hard to fit in and be accepted, but I've always been on the outskirts. And like even now, you can see the background. This is part of the, you can see back into the house that I built for myself. It's built on an RV chassis. I did all the woodwork and everything, but really it's like a, I like the small space. I think some people kind of look, maybe really wonder about that, but it feels comfortable to me, and I made it all by myself. But I live all by myself out in the middle of, the boonies, I guess, and a rural area. I teach in a rural area. Coworkers are starting to maybe see me a bit differently. I don't know, for the better or for the worse. It's the end of the school year, so we'll find out next year how things turn out. But anyway, I said something about Father's Day, and I was thinking about growing up, and I guess the main point I would make here, introducing myself, is just for the parents out there who maybe have, young children who they're wondering about. I would say that I would favor getting a diagnosis over sparing them the stigma, because one thing I've been thinking a lot about lately is how my life would be different if I'd had a diagnosis at a much younger age. I'm not blaming my parents or anything, don't get me wrong, in case they watch this, which they just might. But I know that there's a lot of concern about that, and it's a lot different now anyways than it was in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up. Nowadays I'm seeing also on a lot of these videos that kids are getting diagnosed a lot better earlier, and that's that's a good thing, I think, because even now as I'm 40, putting a context to all of this, and the fact that I can actually recognize some specific things that I can do to avoid many of the frustrations and things, and actually not having to constantly fake my way through life and feeling like like there's something really wrong with me, and people even have said that they're intimidated by me and scared of me, when really I don't think that you could find a nicer person than I try to be, except the fact that I sometimes do get really frustrated in some situations, and I guess I do come across as really controlling sometimes, but I don't know. What I feel mostly right now is just a big sense of relief. So I would put that out there, and I'm just going to keep using this because it's a pretty new thing for me. At least, having a medical diagnosis. I've suspected it for a long time, and so have other people, but things at work that I don't need to get into here kind of prompted me to getting a formal evaluation, which resulted in this diagnosis. And I have to say, I'm just feeling like, for the first time in a while, that I could really make this work for me in a way, rather than feel like I have to try to conform to other people's way of being. I don't even have to try, because there's just nothing wrong with me, but I do want to have better interactions, and especially with difficult people. So yeah, I intend to use that, and if you like this, then maybe you can say something. Maybe talk about if you're another, middle-aged adult who's in a similar situation. You could. I'm noticing that there's a lot of talk about the severity of symptoms, and it's, I don't know, I find that a little weird, because it just keeps reminding me I'm a music fan, so the John Prine keeps coming up, Dear Abby. If you haven't heard that, you should definitely check it out. But the chorus lines is, "You are what you are, and you ain't what you ain't," and it just is what it is. So I'm not even going to try to talk about, where I am on the spectrum or anything, and I don't mind that other people do. Everybody has to process this in their own way. Yeah, so, whatever works, but I think that's going to be my particular thing, is I basically would like, what I'm looking more for anyhow is advice and things from people about how how can like with troublesome students, for example, not coming across as controlling, or something, like something else, or your own work situations where you've had, frustrations or whatever, how you've managed to get that across. And I'll if you want to, depending on, I don't know, maybe nobody cares, kind of be like, why do you care? But there's a lot of people out there that seem to be in this position, and I'm just adding my voice, I guess. And if you want to hear more, then we'll see what to do. So I'm going to turn this off. Thanks for listening.